Hi guys, we're going to carry on with our story, The Wizards of Once by Cressida Cowell, and we're going to find out today how we can catch a witch. Chapter 1. A Trap to Catch a Witch. It was a warm night for November, too warm a night for witches, or so the stories said. Witches were supposed to be extinct, of course, but Tsar had heard about the way they stank, and he imagined he could smell that now. In the quietness of the dark forest, a faint but definite stink of burning hair mixed with long dead mice and a little kick of viper's venom. Once smelled, never forgotten. Tsar, pronounced Zar, I don't know why, spelling is weird, was a wild young human boy who belonged to the wizard tribe. He was riding on the back of a giant snowcat in a part of the forest so dark and mangled and tangled that it was known as the Bad Woods. He should not have been there, for the Bad Woods were warrior territory, and if the warriors were to catch him, well, what everyone said was, Tsar would be killed on sight, off with his head, as was the pleasant warrior custom. But Tsar did not look even remotely worried. He was a cheerful scruff of a boy, with a tremendous quiff of hair shooting upwards from his forehead, as if it had accidentally come into contact with some invisible vertical hurricane. The snowcat he was riding was called King Cat, a noble creature which was a giant form of lynx, far too dignified for his cheeky master. King Cat had shining paws so round they looked unreal, fur so deep it was like powder snow, and such a rich silver-grey colour that it was almost blue. The snowcat ran swiftly but softly through the forest, his black-tipped ears swivelling from side to side as he ran, for he was scared, although he was too proud to show it. Only that very morning, Tsar's father, Incanzo the Enchanter, King of Wizards, had reminded everyone that it was forbidden for any wizard to dare set one toe in the Bad Woods. But Tsar was the most disobedient boy in the Wizard Kingdom in about 4 generations, and forbidding things only encouraged him. In the past week, Tsar had tied the beards of 2 of the eldest and most respectable wizards together when they were sleeping at a banquet. He'd poured a love potion into the pigs' feeding trough, so the pigs developed mad, passionate crushes on Tsar's least favourite teacher, and followed him around wherever he went, making loud, enthusiastic squealing and kissing noises. He had accidentally burned down the western trees in Wizard Camp. Most of these things hadn't been entirely intentional exactly. Tsar had just got carried away in the heat of the moment, and yet none of these disobedient things was half as bad as what Tsar was doing right now. There was a large black raven flying above Tsar's head. "This is a very bad idea, Tsar," said the raven. The talking raven was called Caliburn, and he would have been a handsome bird, but unfortunately it was his job to keep Tsar out of trouble, and the worry of this impossible mission meant his feathers kept falling out. "It isn't really fair to lead your animals and sprites and young fellow wizards into all this danger." As the son of the King Enchanter, and a boy with a great deal of personal charisma, Tsar had a lot of followers. A pack of 5 wolves, 3 snowcats, a bear, 8 sprites, an enormous giant called Crusher, and a small crowd of other wizard youngsters, all following Tsar as if hypnotised, all shivering and scared and pretending not to be. "Oh, you worry too much, Caliburn," said Tsar, pulling King Cat to a halt and jumping off his back. "Look at this lovely, pretty little glade here. You see, perfectly safe and exactly the same as the rest of the forest." Tsar looked around with breezy satisfaction, as if they'd stopped in a delightful woodland dell filled with frolicking bunnies and baby deer, rather than a cold, eerie little clearing where the yews leaned in threateningly and the mistletoe dripped like warlocks' tears. The other wizards drew their swords, and the growling snowcat's fur stood up with fear to such an extent they looked like fairy puffballs. The wolves padded restlessly, trying to form a protective circle around their humans. Only the smaller sprites shared Tsar's enthusiasm, but that was because they were too young to know any better. I don't know if you have ever seen a sprite, so I'd better describe these ones to you. There were 5 larger sprites, all faintly resembling a human crossed with a fierce, elegant insect. When irritated or bored, which was often, they blinked on and off like stars, and purple smoke drifted out of their ears. They were so see-through you could see their hearts beating. Then there were 3 smaller, younger ones who, because they were not yet adult, were known as hairy fairies. Tsar's favourite was an eager, slightly stupid little thing called Squeezes. "Ooh, it's lovely, squeaked Squeezes. "It's the tremendously loveliest clearing I's ever seen. What's this fuss interesting flower? Let me guess. It's a buttercup, it's a daisy, it's a geranium, it's a cauliflower." He flew into the upper branches of a particularly gloomy and sinister tree and perched on the edge of one of its fleshy flowers, which had ominous spikes on the end of its leaves, and was in fact called a sprite-eating hob-trap. The flower snapped short with the briskness of a mousetrap, capturing poor little Squeezes inside. Caliburn landed on Tsar's shoulder and gave a heavy sigh. "I don't like to say I told you so," said Caliburn, "but we've only been in this perfectly safe little clearing in the Badwoods for 1.5 minutes, and you've already lost one of your followers to a carnivorous flower." "Nonsense," scolded Tsar good-naturedly. "I haven't lost him. That's the whole point about being a leader. Whenever my followers get into trouble, I rescue them, because that's what a leader does." Tsar climbed the tree, and 200 feet up, swaying precariously on a couple of creaking twig-like boughs, he took out his dagger and popped open the sprite-eating hob-trap to release a panting little Squeezes in the nick of time. "I's fine," squeaked Squeezes. "I's fine. I can't feel my left leg, but I's fine." "Don't worry, Squeezes. That's just the hob-trap's digestive juices. The feeling will return in a couple of hours." Tsar called out as he dropped down from the tree. "You see, I'm a great leader. Stick with me and you'll be fine." The wizard youngsters looked very thoughtful indeed. At that moment, Tsar's older brother Luther came out of the shadows behind them, sitting astride a great grey wolf and followed by even more sprites and animals and young wizard followers than Tsar himself. Tsar stiffened because he hated his older brother Luther. Luther was a lot bigger than Tsar. He was nearly as tall as their father. He was brilliant at magic. He was good-looking and clever, and my goodness, didn't he know it? He was the smug wizard you could possibly imagine, and he often sneaked on Tsar to get Tsar into trouble. "What are you doing here, Luther?" stormed Tsar suspiciously. "Oh, I just followed you to see what unbelievably stupid and pointless thing my ickle baby brother was doing this time," drawled Luther. "Great leaders like me don't do pointless expeditions," fumed Tsar. "We're here for a reason. It's none of your business, but..." Tsar considered telling Luther some elaborate lie about what he was doing, but he couldn't resist showing off. "We're going to catch ourselves a witch," boasted Tsar proudly. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. This was the first time that Tsar had mentioned to his followers the purpose of their expedition, and it was very unwelcome news indeed. So we're going to finish there. We're going to find out tomorrow what Tsar's plan is to catch a witch. See you soon. Bye.